Welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome to another exciting episode of Colney Talk Podcast, your bite-sized breakdown show. I'm your host, Alex. First-time listeners, glad to have you here. And to my returning guests, thank you for sticking with me as always. I talk a bit about the Arsenal match and pick up my top 3 Arsenal players who shined and one odd player not good enough I usually get to call out. It feels like deja vu score-wise from our last game to this match. Arsenal's 1-1 draw with Brentford is a bit too familiar, if you ask me. It's obvious we're prioritizing our Champions League return leg, rightfully so, but it would have been really great if we grabbed the 3 points instead of sharing it, because everything, the situation that ensued throughout the game did show that we might scruff and hold out for this 3 points. But gotta say, injuries have done us in really bad. It really has. Been a lot of mountain for us to climb in that regard. So let me just get straight to it. The first half was a relative dominant affair as far as Arsenal goes, minus the goal to show for it. And with a rotated squad, this reshuffled lineup barely gave Brentford a chance to show their play attacking-wise in the first half. So that, to me, was impressive. It was a test to measure Brentford's defense, and I'll say some of it was down to the lack of quality and attack on our part to score, but everything else, we were the dominant side. We didn't have a lot to struggle with from a control and management tempo of the game. We didn't impress ourselves as far as how we wanted to control several spaces and pockets, but I think creating more chances in attack, creating more goal scoring opportunities, we lacked a little bit of that sharpness. Arsenal did have moments of promise though. Kieran Tierney, would you imagine, making his first league start in nearly a while, thought he had opened the scoring with a header. It would have been a brilliant story if it did, except that it was offside, so there was nothing to debate there. I really would have loved for him to score. It felt so befitting, and for a player like that, playing in a role and in a position that he has no business to do, even though he has the qualities to at least adapt and try to do something, it was amazing, but shortly lived. Martinelli on the other side, he also came close. His effort was blocked by Christopher Ayer. It showed like it was our best chance of the first half. Despite our amount of corners, Brentford's goalie remained in trouble as far as how we pushed closer to scoring. Yes, they were very close, tight chances, but ultimately he didn't have that much of a scare, so to speak. Defensively, Arsenal held firm. We looked slightly vulnerable, but during Brentford's rare counterattack, David Raya, that's a world-class goalkeeper there. There's no debate about it. He made a crucial block from a low shot early on, but it's not so much about that as a reason, but that, his positioning, the confidence he had, the passes were particularly interesting in making sure the flow of recycled balls didn't have the whole team reset back deep into our own half to build our attacking back up again. But, there was this underlying sense that Brentford could exploit gaps given the opportunity. So the way he was connecting with Saliba and Kivior didn't make that happen. We didn't retreat as much. And that is a lot of attribute to the way they positioned and held off any kind of press. And for the most part, we warded off pressure, denying Brentford any more attacking chances, in the first half. And as well, from a tactical perspective, Arsenal's build-up play, I think, had dynamism because Jorginho slotted in the middle, connecting with Declan Rice, really had us control the entire tempo of the game, which was really good. But we lacked that direct drive. I mean, if a little bit of that initiative was shown from Ethan Nwaneri, but we didn't have it connect fully. And I guess maybe in contribution with Trossard staying in the middle up there was just something that wasn't flowing as we should have. And again, this was a makeshift squad, so there's a level of expectations that I would taper it with in terms of how I am, describing this. But we had to resort to ways that we could be a threat, which we were. We whipped a lot of crosses in their box. Saliba tried to inject urgency as well, just like how we see Big Gabby doing in other games, advancing the ball himself, getting closer, picking out long passes to Martinelli and a few other players like Ethan as well. But Brentford's compact shape made it slightly difficult to create clear chances. I'll boil that down to our midfield connection because, we had Zinchenko in that position in place of Odegaard. So those smooth edges didn't show itself. But we did the most we could. So again, a lot of credit to the team, a lot of credit to the way they prepared and tried to bring their best to this game. The midfield trio, as I said, anchored by Jorginho, was solid, but in attack, we missed that added spark to unlock Brentford's disciplined backline. Again, I think we were up to that challenge. Everything felt like we were matching up pretty well, but that little degree of getting us in front of goal, those threats, those closer chances, we couldn't produce them. So it was a little bit of additional difficulty on that front. But it's so obvious. There's nothing much more to talk about in that regard. So it concluded in a goalless half. While Tierney and Martinelli showed flashes of brilliance, the team lacked sharpness in front of goal in ways that showed like connections from the drives that Martinelli would initiate from the byline. And it simply felt that there weren't direct bodies or the number 9, if you will, that would be occupying a lot of that space. So it's more so of Brentford deserving credit in their defensive organization because they had to hold that line. But for me, playing with a reshuffled squad, I don't think the team put much foot wrong. So again, you would hear me talk less in negative tone towards how the team played, which generally I don't, but I use that as a base of understanding and how I'm analyzing this. The second half, Arsenal stepped up their intensity. Arsenal produced a brilliant goal from Thomas Partey, but this all started with David Raya because he initiated the move by claiming a corner. He quickly released it to Declan Rice with a perfectly weighted rollout, and then Rice just did it all, surging forward with that pace and composure before rolling it off to Partey on the overlap. It was a clinical finish from Partey, and that gave us that deserving lead. I felt that was the wind in our sails to take it home and run out with the 3 points. I mean, Declan Rice was pivotal here. His long Boston run and precise pass was immense. At this point, I thought, there was a bit more that would come out in their combination, or we'll find some other breaks in a way to get a second goal. But that's the game for you. Never know how things always turn out because Brentford, they responded with resilience. Their equalizer came from a corner that we failed to clear effectively. I thought we did, but they, regained possession, and it was a momentarily lapse in defensive reaction. And that's the way I wouldn't say defensive lapse per se, but reaction. Because from Arsenal's clearance, this was one that we couldn't really, close down really quickly. So we made that mistake, giving them that window, and they punished us with it. So it's now 1-1 score. We made some changes to bring in Saka and Odegaard in an attempt to regain control. While their presence added the energy and creativity, it wasn't enough for that breakthrough goal. Saka did have a golden chance, but Brentford, they regrouped swiftly and they snuffed out the tiny marginal angle that we were hoping for Saka to do something. So that was it. The second half was tilting towards brilliance for us in terms of a win, but it wasn't like that because Partey's goal that highlighted what looked to be the turn didn't turn well enough. So it was now down to Brentford, responding, which it was an equalizer, and that was such a disappointment. For sure, it's 2 points dropped, but with a bit of perspective, and that cannot be overlooked. If someone could say it feels like an excuse, it's not, because we dealt with injuries, still dealing with injuries, And at some point, we did play with 10 men. So that's a lot for the team. Many would agree that's exactly what we were faced with. The chances that we didn't get to close out or get a second goal, that's, par for the game. But every other thing that contributed to that maybe made us short there. It's just a fact. So there is nothing much to go on, but just overall view the game in that nature. So it's, full credits to the boys and how they played. There's just a level of understanding in how they performed, not as bad. So, I'm okay with that. All right, let me turn to my top 3 performers in this match. First player, Declan Rice. He was undoubtedly stand-up player today. His role in Partey's goal was crucial, not just for his assist, but his ability to turn defense into attack seamlessly, collecting that, rollout ball inside our own half and run with intent, with that composure and delivering that perfect pass for Partey. Beyond this moment, though, Rice was instrumental in our attacks and driving Arsenal forward. His influence in this game throughout was undeniable. You could just see him command the ball, his presence in every single shape, and how he was trying to make something happen towards our advantage. For me, I wanted him out of the game for all the right reasons, because he needed the rest, because we had a much more important game to play, and I wish he had to go earlier, give him all of that rest. But thankfully, he left without any injury, no cramps, nothing there, so nothing to really worry about. But also in the same breath, we were short of players, so we didn't have anyone else to turn to. Rice was huge in this match, and big applause to him. Second player, Thomas Partey. Partey, with his decisive goal, a composed finish that capped off an excellent counterattack. He played in the right back role to even give Timber room to rest his legs. So that says a lot for Thomas Partey in what he had to do given the circumstance. Operating at the auxiliary right back for much of the game, Partey adapted well, and he also contributed offensively when we needed, with those relays that he needed to serve to Ethan. So, and that was very effective. His ability to read the ball and the gameplay, position himself effectively as a link to Jorginho and Rice when we pressed in their third, that was great. It's one of the underrated qualities that gave us the calm and composure in what we were trying to do. And it was another reason why we were defensively superior, because I believe in his effect in, locking things down. We nullified any transitions from Brentford on the right. And that's huge. That's a lot. Because for the most part, most of Brentford's attack came from Mbeumo's runs. So, Partey did a lot to, close down the right side. Third and final player, William Saliba. Saliba played a proactive role in our build-up play, driving upfield, which was necessary, delivering pinpoint passes to Ethan and others. His defensive awareness kept Brentford at bay for much of the match, though he will be disappointed by the team's inability to clear the lines during that Moises equalizer. But beyond that, Saliba was superb, played really well, helped make our defense less of a conversation in terms of trouble. So that is the effect that he helped contribute go forward and trying to win this game. No odd player to call out, which is such a good thing. Overall, watching the game, we did more good than bad. Similar to Everton, as I said, from a deja vu standpoint, this 1-1 draw, we've lost the points. We know the squad is beyond slim, and we're doing less with less. So overall, credit to the team. While we failed to capitalize in this match, closing the gap and extending from the others, I'm hoping we can do that in the next game. We did have moments of brilliance, particularly from Rice and Partey. The lack of sharpness in front of goal, as we know, is what we have to deal with. And this defensive lapse that cost us once again. But I can't take that from the entirety of how they played. We have something bigger we're playing for, so we can be proud of the team, how they're pushing, how they're playing, and how they've managed to deal with all these issues without having their heads dropped. So big ups to the team and Arteta for just managing all through. All right, folks, I'll wrap it here. Thank you all for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share with your fellow gunners.